Hello and welcome back, beautiful soul, to Permission to Follow Your Inner GPS. Your Inner GPS video podcast series is all about your guided soul, your guided purpose soul path. And you know, one of these times the angels are going to let me get it out straight without them tripping all over my tongue for me. So in the meantime, so this is part of what we're doing, right? We're following our inner GPS. Bumping along. And when Bev and I have been friends on social media for a little while, maybe 6 months-ish or so, and we've gotten together once before just having a conversation between the two of us without the rest of the world, and all of her angels and guides came through and all of mine came through, and it's like, okay guys, step it back just a little so we're not tripping over ourselves. So, talk about following your inner GPS. This beautiful lady is all the way from South Africa. So amazing technology. Kudos to Techie Angels for keeping this neat. She loves helping humans. You and me, guys, okay? Humans realize they are not alone and they don't have to do everything all their own. It is a solitary kind of a path, but you don't have to do it alone, which is amazing. And she also really works with helping her clients with forgiveness and releasing, which is one of the most important ways to release yourself from the past. And without further ado, hello, beautiful Bev, and welcome.
Thank you. Hi. Hey, so I am, as Terry said, Bev Kaplan. I live in South Africa. I'm known here as the spiritual therapist, basically.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm a psychic medium, energy healer, whatever you want to label it, still just labels. I don't go much into labels. I just go with the flow as how much I can help everyone on their path as I'm guided to. So, yeah. So basically, so how I got into this.
Yes, please jump right. How did you get into this? That's what we want to know.
Okay. So basically, I would say I was about the age of 14.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting in my bedroom and boom, there was a male energy spirit who just appeared out of nowhere in my room. And I just watched him. And I just was like, okay. And then I was trying to, I just actually had a memory of this. I tried to stick my hand through him.
How did that work?
It's the first memory I actually have of that, is that like right now, that is like crazy. And you know what? So I was seeing them with my physical eyes. So they're like see-through.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as that you could see them in physical form, obviously you're not as many features and very hazy, but I was like sticking my hand through, and then he left. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it started happening more frequently, and I would lie in bed and like with my eyes up, and I'd actually watch them come above me and watch the hazes. And I used to play games, sticking my hands in them and doing all that. And that's when I started realizing, whoa, there's more to out there what's just visible with the physical eye. And this just happened, like carried on happening. And I one day approached my mom, and I said to her, I explained to her what was kind of going on, and she actually confirmed me. She says, you know what, she's seen one of her guides actually sitting on the floor on a carpet in the room, and she described him to me. And we kind of got the conversation going, but she said that it would be better if we kind of just kept it to ourselves, because way back then, I was 14, I'm 41 now, that subject was very taboo.
Yes.
They'd like lock you up in a mental asylum. So that's kind of when that started. For years and years, and then slowly I started realizing that I was connecting to people who'd crossed over.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'd be in the company of somebody would just come through, and I'd start describing them and telling them about them. And I developed that more of a mediumship side. And then a few years, I just actually like let it go, and I got very stuck up in the physical, and that just wasn't working out well for me at all. And then the main thing of when it all really began was when my mother passed away. I was actually in the hospital having an appendix operation. So I couldn't be with her physically when she transitioned. Obviously, I wasn't meant to. She obviously wouldn't have been able to transition with me present there at the time. I understand this now. And I left the hospital in a wheelchair because I had a really horrible operation that went wrong. So I went to the cemetery, and as I left the cemetery and got into the car, my head was kind of like shifted like that. And I was like, there, literally, virtually in physical form, was my mom standing together with her mother. And it was like one of those wow moments, like, but, you know, in spirit, but never so close to physical form. I could describe everything. They did look younger, though. Her mother looked a lot younger than, but it was just kind of to give me that closure that they were together and everything like that. And like I kind of got the message from her mom that there was more reasoning of why she pitched up there as well, which I only discovered years later. Then I think it was 4 years prior to that, my dad passed away. And one day I went to one of these psychic fairs, spiritual fairs, and I was walking around, and then I was very guided to go to this one lady. And a message came through from my dad's mom that literally was, you need to follow your heart and do what you meant to do, because she didn't. And that was it for me. I knew there and then that it's time to bring my gifts out, enhance them. And I think it was 2 days later, it was Archangel Michael that came through. Now, I had never known about angels. I had never, as far as I knew, all you can connect to was the dead. That's all I knew. Was that you? Yeah. I had no idea about angels. I knew that there were guides, but I didn't know much about them or anything. And then I started developing more of this bond with Archangel Michael, and from him Archangel Raphael came through, and then bam came Archangel Metatron. Like bam. And I started learning more and more, and I started researching on angels, and the more you research, the more you're able to connect.
Yes.
So that is one thing that I want to actually get out to everyone. Like, even if you've never heard of angels, do some research, because, you know, when you focus your energy there, it does open up realms for them, and it's easier because you come in with free can I speak? With free
I know what that's like.
Yeah, because you come in with free will. Unless you call them in, unless you invite them, and unless you give them permission, and they're not going to help you. And that is one thing that I've had to learn the hard way.
Yes.
And that is one thing that I teach to every single one of my clients that steps into my office, is you have got to invite them in. However, the one thing I did learn, my own lessons, you got to be specific.
Yes.
Because
absolutely. It's so important to be specific, because people say, well, okay, angels help me. Well, right. You can
then they're going to go, your head's a little bit out of place there. I helped you.
You can say that, and if you're totally focused on a project, then they understand it's about that. But if you're just saying help me, they go, okay, can you be a little more specific so they can send the correct angels? And there's no wrong angel, but there are some that are more specialized. Yeah, exactly.
So the one thing that I say is that it doesn't matter if you don't know the angels' names. Just say, angel who can help me with this, or angel who can help me with that, and then just trust that they'll be there, and they will be there. Yes. So going back into how I got more into this, I then started making connection with guides. And the first guide that came through to me was actually Roberta. I don't connect with him much anymore, though, funny enough. I'm just having all these memories come through in this thing. It's great. He was standing in my living room. And I was like, okay. And I could see him, but it was in my mind's eye, but perfectly. And he just meandered around, and sometimes he pops in, but I haven't actually come to think of it. Maybe I need to reconnect with him.
Maybe so.
Then the next guide, which is a crazy, crazy story, is this guide named Leah. Leah was a high priestess from Atlantis. And every time I was more near water, she would come through more. And one day I was doing a renovation in my home, and I took out a door frame by my kitchen. And obviously there was a lot of dust. And the next day I walked through my kitchen door the other way, and you know, like when they move your head, and I was like, out of the dust, her face was on the wall.
Ooh.
Right. So obviously I did not finish my renovation of covering over that. I tiled around it and framed. So one day if I ever do sell my house, I'm going to have to carve it out.
Yes, she will definitely want to be going with you.
So Leah helps me a lot with spiritual connection and things. She vibrates very, very high. So somehow when I'm by water, especially by the sea, somehow our vibrations meet that kind of like halfway mark. And I do get more connection with her then. But she's I call her a bit of a strange cookie because she's kind of aloof. So, but when she does come through, it's like this ice cold feeling. Then I know she's around. Now, going back into more of the guide thing, this is where it like floors me, is I made connection with this guide named Sophie, who's my healer guide, the most loving, nurturing, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful being. She's just precious. I worked with Sophie for about a year and a half until I was ready to know who Sophie really was. Sophie was my mom's mom.
Oh, nice. Did your mom's mom actually practice her gifts? And it kind of, no, your mom's mom didn't either.
No,
Okay.
No, not that I know of, but she was the most amazing human being, always helping, always kind, always nurturing. She was the kind of woman as well who I used to laugh who would fry fish in her high heels. So I've learned a lot of that, and I understand why she's come through as my healer guide and things like that. So I work very, very closely with her when doing, especially energy healings. She's there a lot. She comes through a lot when I'm working with clients who are trying to conceive.
Okay.
Comes in a lot with that, but she's been very, very helpful in that respect. So that is how I started getting into what I was doing. And then I built up slowly and slowly and slowly. I think I started this journey in 2010. And I've worked hard at it. And I'd say in the last 2 years, I've really gone in full force. Like I gave up the reality human job.
There comes a point when most of us really, it's like, okay, I really need to make the jump, and we can do it gracefully, or they will help us.
I was balancing the two, and it just was not working out for me. And I just thought, I'm going to take the plunge. And you know what? When I closed that door, this expanded. Yes,
because now you are no longer trying to fit into something else. And please, beautiful souls listening and watching and viewing, this is not to say everybody has to quit their day job, okay? That's not what we're saying.
Definitely not. But if your path is really to do full healing, when you get to that point, it took me a long time to get to that point where I was balancing the two, where my healing work was more of a hobby.
Right.
And the physical human reality job was majority of the time. And then slowly the hours started lessening, and this started growing, and you get to that point, but no one's saying you can't have both.
No, absolutely not. So when you realized the end point was starting to get closer and closer, how did you feel? What did that, because there are who knows how many beautiful souls out there going, I really want to be able to not do that anymore, and I want to do this full time. But how do you make that transition? Because it's scarier than holy heck, because all of a sudden you're out there by yourself and there's nobody cutting you a paycheck every so often.
That's the thing. So that is where you have to use your manifestation power. And I started doing a lot of moon work, releasing with the full moon, manifesting with the new moon, and setting my intentions Because what I realized is that the universe does not understand yes and it doesn't understand no. It only understands where you focus that energy. So if you're going to focus on the fear and the lack, you're just going to create more of that fear and lack. So what I did was every day I started thanking for my soulmate clients. Thanking that I always have enough. Thanking that I'm abundant, thanking that I'm prosperous. And you know what? Slowly it's grown and it's grown and it's grown. So yes, it was scary to close that door. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't, but I'm literally, actually, they're giving me a beautiful word here, sentence, not word. They called it a leap of faith.
Yes. It is so much a leap of faith. And I'm trying to change that into leap into faith.
Wow, I like that.
You know, when we leap off of something, it's like, okay, that's a little scary. But when we leap into something, it's still the same transformation, but it's a little softer for the conscious mind to bend around. And so that's not fighting us as much. When you're leaping into something, it's better than leaping off the edge.
I really, really, really like that. And then, you know, also just want to put it out there that, you know, when I started doing these, I actually started doing only deep guided meditations. That's how I started. So I actually did like a crash course on semi-hypnosis. They actually called it quantum connection until I realized it was deep guided meditations. Because I used to tell people I do quantum connections. They're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's about using language that people understand that still honors what you're doing and you still feel in alignment with, because we use, and then once they understand or once they work with you, then it's like, oh, okay, I get it. But it's getting people in the door, virtually or physically, is where the challenge often lay.
Right, so that's how I started with doing those. And let me tell you that before any client came, I used to sweat. I used to go into anxiety mode, like, what if this doesn't come through? Or what if that? And you know what? After every single one, it was cool. I was fine. And then the next one came and the same anxiety would come up. And slowly, you like ease into it. Then I started, you know, now I need to implement something else. And that's when I bought my first deck of cards.
Ooh, nice.
Right, so then I learned the cards and everything, and you know, I had to one day do my first reading. It was very scary because I'm busy speaking to people, beings that no one's seeing, no one's hearing. And I got very nervous. And you know what? I used to do my cards a very set way, and I was very like, And one day during one of my readings, they said, stop right there. We're changing this right now. And I was like, I'm in the middle of a session. Are you kidding with me? You can't do this to me. And it was like they actually froze my hands. I couldn't like move my hands until I agreed to do the cards completely differently. So I was like, okay, I'm trusting this, however it goes. And from that day on, I just started doing the cards. Whatever comes out, comes out. Whatever, you know, so they fly across the room, they do this, they do that, whatever. So what they do. And the one of the biggest ways that they do it is I'll shuffle and they'll give me a number and I'll go count to that number.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's like a really good way. But, you know, going into that in my sessions, I have now through the years got to a point where I only use my cards at the end of a session as a tool of confirmation for the reading that's taken place.
That's good. That's awesome. Everyone does readings differently, and it depends. And you can use the same deck over and over again, and each card can have 100 different meanings because of the person. And even if the same person comes back and has the same card come up, because where their energy is and what they're going through, the message could be totally different or just slightly different.
Exactly. And that we learn over time with practice. It's all practice, and the more you practice, it's like the pineal gland, that's the muscle. You know, it's like you go to gym, you're working these muscles. The same thing. The more you practice, the more it develops your intuition, the more it develops your clairs. So,
absolutely. And I consider myself, even after 13-ish years, I'm still practicing, because that helps to keep my conscious mind. Go ahead.
We are the forever students.
Yes, forever students. And anybody who tells you they've gotten it all and there's no more to do, leave.
No. I learn every single day. And I must tell you that, like, I even learn from every reading that I do something new and something more, and every energy healing that I do, and every chakra balancing that I do, and every guided meditation. There's always new things to learn and new things to do, and I'm learning every single day. And as far as I am now, I'm nowhere near where I want to be.
I'm closer than when I started, right? You're closer than when you started, and we'll leave it at that. There's a bit of a path to go. Would you be willing to share with our viewers one challenge or obstacle that really helped shape you and you really felt like you needed to work through so that they know they can do this too?
Sure. You know what? A lot of the things that I have gone through in my own personal life have been the biggest helping learning lessons for me to be able to help another human being. Whether it's with, okay, well let's use children.
Okay, yeah, give us an example.
Okay, they don't come out with a manual.
I hear that.
Right. Parenting is very, very challenging. It is very, very challenging. And the things that I've learned as a mother, and I've battled with myself and have managed to, let's say, conquer it myself through the assistance of angels, through the assistance of my guides, and actually even like my children, who've been my biggest teachers, have now got me to a point where a client will come in and they will be having one of the same issues maybe I had 5 years previous to this. So I also have the knowledge from personal experience, and then more messages that come through from the angels that I wish I had 5 years back then.
Yep.
So though that, you know, like that could be an example of one of my personal challenges, even in personal relationships and things like that. You know, a lot of the stuff that people come to you for help with is things that you've personally been through yourself, maybe obviously a bit differently, but you learn the coping tools. And then what I do is I teach those coping tools, because when I do readings, I know I work quite differently to how obviously every healer does their own work, but I like to give them homework.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, and you know what, the same type of homework does come through very often for many different people. You know, it's kind of like you got to meet them halfway. You do 50% and they're going to do 50%. And when I'm speaking of that, angels or guides or who's ever coming through to assist. So yeah, there's always homework. And you know what, the clients or my students, whatever you want to call them, the ones who literally do everything that comes through are the ones that have transformed incredibly. That they're not the same person who walked into my office, say, 2 years ago.
It's true. So many people think that all they have to do is ask and then do nothing, but you have to do your part. And sometimes the doing is not doing something or doing something differently or stopping to do that. But we have to do our part because that's the way it works.
Absolutely.
That's the way it works.
Absolutely. You got to meet them halfway.
So what would you share with someone, with our viewers, if they want to go either starting or going full time? What one thing would you help them know?
Okay, well, the first thing is that you've always got assistance. That, to me, that would be like the main thing. Like I always I like say that, you know, we never came into this third dimension alone. We came in with a backup team. It's the same as we would never send people out into space alone. There's a backup team down here. And the same as when we incarnate into this physical time-space third dimensional reality, we don't come in alone. So you got to just, the first thing I would highly recommend is that you, even though you might not be able to see them with your physical eyes, even though you might not have made full connection as of yet, you know, everybody connects differently. And the one thing I just want to put in is don't ever compare your experience to another person's experience. We all hear, see, and feel differently. And that I find a lot of people go, well, I'm not seeing. So, you know, the way I explain to use the third eye of imagery is I say to them, well, you're sitting in front of me, but you can see your vehicle. It's not in front of you, but you can see it. You can describe it. You can tell me everything about it. And that's kind of the same way as you see through that. You know, and the more you practice, the more it enhances. And the other thing is stop trying too hard.
Yes.
When you try too hard, it creates a blocker. When you're not trying, it all comes. And that's when you start seeing. It starts with the sparks in the peripherals.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because when we're trying too hard, what we're really saying to our guides and the angels is, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. And they go, well, you're right. You're not seeing it. So back off a little.
So for anyone who's wanting to go down this path, you know, whichever healing modality it is or whatever it is, the first thing I would do is sit down and meditate and see what comes through for which niche may be best suited for you at that present moment of time. It might change.
It often does. Didn't it change for you? I mean, you're still a psychic medium, but it's different now than when you first started this.
Absolutely, absolutely. The first thing I wanted to do is I actually wanted to go and learn Reiki. And I phoned a Reiki master. I had a conversation with her and I was like, nah, that's not for me. So boom, cross off the list. And I thought, no, let me try something else. And through the something else started and something else. And, you know, when I do my energy healings and chakra balancings, my guide Leah actually taught me how to do that. So you don't actually have to be trained, so to speak, in, you know, like, for example, like go on a 3-year course to learn to do card readings, for example. If you want to learn to read cards, go and get yourself a deck.
Yep.
Because you got to start actioning it. No one's saying don't go for training. I'm not saying don't go for training, but don't go in like this.
Exactly. And the whole point of your spiritual path, you know, doing your guided purpose soul path is to open and be open to what's in front of you. And it's not the same thing as just kind of floating around with no direction. You get to pick something and then it's like, okay, I like it, but it's not really exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. But you can take those lessons, that experience, and bring it with you to the next piece, to the next part of the path.
Yeah, like stepping stones.
Yes, stepping into, not off the ledge necessarily.
Gliding into.
And we tease about this a little bit, but sometimes it really is, you're taking that leap of faith. You are stepping off the edge of everything you have ever known and going, okay, teach me. I need the stones and I need how to fly and I need to do it like right now, guys.
Right, so you've just got to action it. And when you start actioning it, that is when you're putting out the intention for the energy to start flowing in that direction.
Absolutely.
The more you start actioning it, the more it starts to flow. But don't let the fear and the ego and the monkey mind say you can't do this. that's like the biggest obstacle. You know, if you've got that nagging, persistent feeling in your heart that this is the direction, that you are a light worker, that you're a healer, that you're there to help others and assist others on their path and their journey, that's where you've got to literally, you know, they give me funny images sometimes of decapitation.
You got to cut it off.
I can be in a session with a client, and all of a sudden I'll get this image of their head next to them on the side. I go, okay, you've got to remove this head of yours. It's like crazy, crazy, crazy images that do come through, but you never know what's going to come through. And you know, the more you practice, it's like riding a bicycle. You've got to start with your fairy wheels.
Yes, you do. Absolutely. Is there anything else that you or your guides would like to share with our viewers, beautiful?
To help them?
Just whatever's coming through.
Okay, what I want to, what the one thing that I didn't get through to is how imperative forgiveness work is.
Yes, please do share that.
Okay, so unforgiveness does more damage in the vessel that it's stored in than into the vessel that it's poured in. So when you're holding on to resentment and you are angry, who are you hurting in the end? Only yourself.
Yes.
So like an example that I give is like, say you have a fight with a friend and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're lying there awake and your stomach's churning and you're like, oh, what is your friend doing? They're fast asleep.
Yes. Yep.
Right. So this is where the forgiveness starts, the releasing process, where you start to shed what no longer serves your highest good.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the best way that I could put it, that, you know, because we're holding on to things. When you're holding on to things, it's actually harder work to hold on to things. Okay, they're speaking now of the resistance and the surrendering.
Yes.
Right. So what you resist persists. Standard protocol saying, what you resist persists. So what you have to learn to do is surrender. Surrender doesn't mean giving up.
Mm-mm.
It's trusting. The surrender is the trusting. And when you slowly start the forgiveness process, I mean, there are many ways to do it. I give a lot of homework of letter writing and burning the letter.
Me too.
I'll give an example actually on here, so that if anyone's listening to who can't come to me or whatever, so say you're angry with whoever, we'll call him Joe. Right, so you like start off your letter, dear Joe, and then you always start off with a positive, thank you for. You get all the positive out. And then I say after that, you let rip. And I do advise to handwrite it.
Yes.
Okay, because when you say something, it's there, but when you write it, you own it and you take responsibility for it. It's very hard to release something that you don't own.
Mm-hmm.
So you handwrite it, and Archangel Gabriel's knocking here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Archangel Gabriel will assist you in this.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a name for an angel for you. You want to do forgiveness work, call Archangel Gabriel, helps with the throat chakra, center of communication, will help you get that creative side out of you. It will help with your sacral chakra as well, and it will release all of these things. Because if you don't release it, let me just go, I'm losing track here. Going back into the letter writing. So after I call it let rip in this letter, let it be a 6-page letter. And the more you write, the more things will start coming up. Memories will start coming up. And it's shadow work, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the letter, write, I forgive you. Then burn the letter. And as it's finished burning, send it out to the universe in a bubble of light and love. And you will feel that releasing starting to take place. And if need be, do 2 letters. You know, there's always residue of healing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, remember, things come full circle. And it smacks you in the face when you haven't healed it. And it's going to come through full circle again and smack you harder until sometimes you have no choice but to listen. But sometimes you've got, well, I've healed this. Why is it coming up? Because it's a little bit of residue, still got a little bit of healing work to do. And that's, healing, I say, is like a bath. It's something you have to do every day.
Yes. Yep. And the more you listen to it, the easier it is. And some days you get a pass because you've done enough. And then your physical self, your human self actually gets to catch up for a day. And then you're starting back in on something else or a little bit more of what you already worked with.
Right. And the other thing that is coming through that they want me to mention on this is that everything has a light side and a shadow side.
Mm-hmm.
Including spirituality, physical, whatever it is, there's a light side and a shadow side. So you stand in the sun, you've got your light. Behind you, you've got your shadow. You can never escape your shadow. So you have to embrace your shadow. So just know that with everything, there's a light side and a shadow side. And unfortunately, we do have to go into the shadow side and peel the layers of the onion in order for that light side to glow. So the one thing that I want to just relay what they're saying to me right now is if you like wanting to do, let's just say card readings, and you have a session and you know what, maybe it didn't go too well, or maybe you think it didn't go too well. What they want you to realize is that you have got to focus on the service you're offering. It's not your job to be on the receiving end of how your client receives it.
Yes.
That takes a lot of practice to work through and to understand. And you know what? Sometimes you do have those very difficult readings.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have those readings that, whoa, you just floor yourself. I'm like, seriously?
Very true. Wow, you have given us so much of yourself and shared your journey and some very good tips and techniques, ladies and gentlemen. So if you practice even one thing that this beautiful Bev has shared with you, things are going to start to shift and change for you. Oh. Anyway, would you please tell our viewers how they can find you?
So I do have a Facebook group called Souls, broken down into synchronizing our universal love spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find me on that, or my website, www.souls.co.za. There'll be contact information on there. So those are the two places, the easiest places to get me, unless you have my phone number.
Yeah, that would be good if they have it.
It actually is on my website.
So that's,
but if you do want to contact me through my number, please use WhatsApp, because I can't always answer the phone.
yes. So that's Souls, and it's a beautiful group on Facebook, and that's souls.co.za.
That's for the website, yes.
That's the website. So Souls, SOUL.co.z as in zebra or Zaire, ZA, okay?
ZA for South Africa. It's the ZA.
Yeah, South Africa, absolutely.
Not SA, ZA.
ZA. I got it because I'm used to it. But I thought I might want to translate that for some on the other end of this who might not have known. Okay, Z-E-D-A.
Okay,
no. Zebra A. So Z-A. Zebra, Z. Okay, Zavulous. I don't know. Just make up a word. Fabulous with the Z. Okay. Thank you so much for being here and sharing with all of us.
It was so awesome to be with you, really.
Thank you. Thank you. So, beautiful soul, there are lots of golden nuggets and some big boulders in this particular video podcast. So listen to it more than once, share it with your friends, share it across. And while you're doing that, or right after you have finished viewing this podcast, pop on over to angeldreamteam.com and visit Living Spirit and Wellness Global Directory. We are growing an amazing online community, mostly empaths for empaths. Now, some of them are graphic designers. They're not exactly empathic. However, they're working with us, so they get it. Okay, they get us. So take a look at that. And while you're there, maybe you can find Bev or Coach Nick or someone else, and then get a listing for yourself. You just never know who's going to pop on there and find it. In the meantime, follow your own inner GPS, beautiful. And until next time, namaste, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.